This is your host, name bin Muhammad Rafi, and here is my YouTube channel, Zumair Universal. Today I'm going to discuss about India and the atrocities the India has committed, and by force India has kept more than 20 states in its union which never ever belonged to the Hindus, and how with power, with force, just like going and falling into the footsteps of the Zionist state of Israel, demolishing mosques, destroying churches, and killing Dalits, burning alive the Christians. Look at what this gangster, this butcher of Gujarat, the gang of Gujarat since 2002, when he was the chief minister till now, he continues with power because he is a vagabond, he is a terrorist who has controlled all the money with 5% of the rich people, and with that he bought the Election Commission of India, the Chief Justice of India, and bought all the politicians, bought all the rogues and all the dons, anti-Muslim, anti-Christian, anti-Dalit, anti-Sikh, and put them all together under one banner. And that was called BJP or RSS. The one, look at their philosophy, look at their thinking, look at their cruel idea. Just like the Zionists, they went for refuge, and this is what they have done to the Palestinian people, and the whole world is now watching the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, and now people have been shying away from the ethnic cleansing which have been going on in India for the last 75 years. It is only the China which challenged them, and every now and then a small group of people, the indigenous people, the people whom Kashmir or the other states belong, and they crushed them with their army. Now you listen to one of their own telling them that they have lost Kashmir, similarly they have lost Nagaland, similarly they have lost many parts of Bengal, many parts of East Punjab, especially all the Sikhs, the Dalits, the Christians. They cannot tolerate anybody except the extreme terrorist Hindu, and they want Hindu Rashtra. They want to reverse the history. They want to change all the Muslim names, just as Netanyahu changed all the names of Palestinian people in the land. And you can see that how all is going to be reversed, even 2024. And sooner you will see that India is going to disintegrate. The way it is building its aircraft carriers in different countries, the way it is investing its money and throwing left and right. And the money doesn't belong to the people of India, it belongs to those 5% people in which this gang or Gujarati gang or these butchers have their major shares. It is about time that the Indians wake up and get rid of this menace, just as now the Israelis themselves see the demonstration there. They want to get rid of Netanyahu, they want to get rid of these there, and you see the Orthodox Jews who never want to fight and who never in their religion want to take the land of other people, steal, lie. And this is the basic requisite of being a member of BJP and RSS. And then alone you can. And then how come you will not reign and remove every bit of morsel from the mouth of the Congress or any other party who promotes pluralism, who promotes tolerance, who promotes freedom of religion for all people, and want to live on this planet and share the resources and share the beliefs together. So unless with these little few words which I'm saying, and I want to show you just a clip, and there is a long history of the other states, and you know about the chicken neck, you know about Ladakh, you know about how the Kashmir has been split into 4. And with the stroke of a pen, and imagine what they would have done to Junagadh, to Bhopal, to Hyderabad, and all those Muslim states, and even what they did to East Punjab, and they divided into 5 different, say, Uttar and Lower Pradesh, and so that the Sikhs cannot have their homeland, they could not have their Khalistan, the Nagaland could not have their freedom. And now even you see that the islands around them, where they had their army and their ships, now they have thrown them out. Now they have asked them to leave the place, and sooner you will see Iran, sooner you will see that the Russian Republic, where they are built there, and so will see Oman and Qatar, they will also have to slap on their own face and swallow their own spit and throw them out. And the typical example in our own memory is the Shah of Iran, who had collected billions of dollars of, the ammunition, and had all kind of the latest arms with him, just like now he's doing another atomic blast, a nuclear blast. And look at that thing he's carrying with his hand, to declaring that he's going to conquer the whole world and introduce Hinduism in the rest of the world, with his sheer power and his prejudice. And because he controls the Election Commission of India, he controls the superior judiciary, and he controls the dons or the terrorists of India. And this is how he is surviving, and is now claiming and boasting to be the...
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another...
So I'm Rahiba, I work with the print here.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, after the BJP withdrew from the PDP government in J&K, you made 2 visits with your Citizens Concern group, and you said you called Mr. Prime Minister and wanted to talk about the observations that you made in Kashmir. How do you see the Kashmir situation right now, and what is the role that you see Modi government has played in the way things have unfolded in Kashmir? What do you have to say about it, and how do you look at Kashmir right now? Where does Kashmir go from here?
I think we have made one mistake after another as far as our policy on Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. And I will not disclose the name of the person with whom I had a discussion in government on this, but I was told that there is a doctrine of state.
Doctrine of?
State.
State.
Machiavelli, Chanakya, Metternich, everybody has a doctrine of state, so we have a doctrine of state also. And that doctrine of state is use force to quell any rebellion. So they are using force. And I'll tell you all the visits that I made to Jammu and to the valley. And I traveled around. We were not confined to one place. I told you how the Nepalese hate India. The hatred in the minds of the people of the valley is far stronger than that in Nepal. We have ruined our relationship with the people of Jammu and Kashmir, especially the Kashmir Valley. And I don't know how much time it is going to take for that to be repaired. And I'd also like to tell you, and I'm very proud of saying this, that the one person who is still respected in Jammu and Kashmir is Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And he followed the policy of insaniyat, not of force.
So this gentleman who told you about the doctrine of state, this gentleman is in the government or is in the party?
No, he is in the government. He is in the government, and he was kind enough to see me after my visit to Kashmir. And we had some discussion, and when he told me that, every government must have a doctrine of a state, and this is our doctrine, then I said namaste, and after that I have not checked up.
So this is the Chanakya doctrine. Is that what you talked about?
No. This is the doctrine of this. This is the doctrine of a state, of a strong state, which believes in the use of force to solve problems. Not
India. A couple weeks ago, I did a video about the languages in the continent of Asia. As I went through the various regions of the continent, there was one that caught my attention, especially due to the incredibly large amount of languages that it had, India. Save the prevalence of Hindi in the north, almost each Indian state has their own main language. If they were their own countries, many of them would have their own main language, not to count the thousands of other dialects that exist on a local or regional level. So this got me thinking, are there any other significant differences between the various Indian states? And what if these differences were enough to make them want to separate from each other? Those are the two topics we're going to cover in this video by answering the hypothetical question, what if India broke up? The idea isn't completely insane. For a big part of its history, India was ruled by many different empires, but it also had various periods of vast regional independence. And even during the times of the British Empire, for instance, the British Raj, which also included Pakistan and Bangladesh, was made up of a great number of princely states, areas that weren't directly governed by the British, but rather by the local people. There were officially 565 princely states when India and Pakistan became independent in 1947. So let's get into the hypothetical scenario today. First, the basics. We would not only have one country in this area, but would instead have 37. The number of states, 28, and union territories, 9. This is assuming that none of the states would group up into unions. If we were being realistic, this would probably be most likely, especially with the smaller and less developed ones. But the point of this hypothetical scenario is to learn about each state individually and how they compare among themselves. So let's go with the 37. Also, in case you don't know, I didn't either before this, the difference between a state and a union territory of India is that the state has its own government and a degree of autonomy, while a union territory is administered directly by the national federal government of India, sort of like Washington DC for the US or Brasilia for Brazil. Puducherry and Delhi are the two exceptions, and they have an elected legislature and government since they were granted partial statehood status. In the scenario that all of them would become independent, this would immediately pose a challenge to most of the territories because, unlike the states, they have no established government structures and organizations. Speaking of those governmental organizations, the most likely scenario in this case is that each of the new countries would become an independent republic, likely full-on democracies as India is today, with their own parliament and their own president, with a balance of power between the two, maybe varying in each case. India is one of the biggest, if not the biggest democracy in the world, so I think it's unlikely that any state would become non-democratic or revert back to a monarchy similar to those of the princely states, even if in a constitutional democratic monarchy like Norway or Sweden. It's also important to note that all of them would likely struggle, and unless there was a very long transition period or continued collaboration between independent states, there would be big economic issues. For instance, Uttarakhand apparently provides electricity to Uttar Pradesh, who in turn provides cereals and vegetables to most of India. So every state's GDP depends on their exports to other states. Maybe larger, more populated and developed, richer states would do best, but still, I believe that all of them would struggle with independence. What about the flags of these new countries? Today, each Indian state or territory has its own flag. However, all flags consist only of a white field with the state's emblem on it. The emblem is usually a seal or coat of arms of sorts with local elements and a choice of colors. Should each of the states become independent, then these would likely have to be redesigned into full-on flags, taking into account the colors and symbols used to represent each region. Most of the states use the national emblem, which depicts these 3 lions. If a united India disappeared, then these would likely be removed, and some states actually only use it as their symbol, so in those cases, full-on new flags and symbols would have to be chosen. This got me thinking that it would be a good idea to have a flag contest to redesign India's state flags. If you want to participate, just go to my Twitter and reply to this tweet with your flag proposal, and after a couple of weeks, the flags with the most likes will win a prize of €100 Steam gift certificate. Speaking of population, how would these different states differ in that regard? Population density in India has a very irregular distribution. You have areas with hundreds of millions of people, while other ones only reach a few hundreds of thousands. There's also a big difference from state to state. For instance, Uttar Pradesh up north has 200 million people and accounts for over 16% of India's total population, while Maharashtra in the south has 112 million and accounts for 9%. Bihar and West Bengal, also up north, are next with 91 and 72 million, 7.5 and 6% respectively. Then all other states have only 5% or less of the country's total population. In fact, there's a total of 16 states, more than half, that represent less than 1% of the national population each. Although we need to keep in mind the base value is very high, India is one of, and soon the most populated country in the world. For instance, Uttarakhand has only 0.8% of the national population, but still has 10 million people, as big as the whole country of Portugal, for instance. The 5 least populated states are Sikkim with 600,000, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu at 585, Andaman and Nicobar Islands at 380, Ladakh with 274,000, and Lakshadweep with 64,000. It's a small island. Speaking of Sikkim, it would be an interesting case in itself. Sikkim is located between Nepal and Bhutan, and it used to be a fully independent country, then being annexed by India in 1975 only. The Kingdom of Sikkim had existed since 1642. Although its independence was always kind of partial, it was initially a tributary state of Qing China, then a protectorate of Tibet, then of the British Empire, and finally joining India. Sikkim is also one of the smallest states in territory. Although it isn't the smallest, Goa, Delhi, Dadra, Puducherry, Chandigarh, and Lakshadweep are even smaller. Puducherry is a strange case. It has 4 districts that are territorially disconnected. In the case of independence, it's strange that it would continue to exist like this. It's more likely that the districts would be absorbed.
यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें. उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर